Live from Studio 67 in Florida's capital county, it's time to get fact-checked.
Access granted.
What is up, good people of Florida? We are back with another episode of Fact Check. It is week 4 up here in the Florida capital, and the Bills are really starting to fly now. We got myself, Jared, as well as Courtney and Peter with us today.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Peter, say what's up.
What's going on, guys?
And we are a little short-handed right now. We did want to address that really briefly. Amir, unfortunately, has had a little bit of a health issue. So if everyone could please keep him in your prayers. You can't keep that boy down for long. So we're hoping that he'll be back with us real soon. We all went and visited him recently. And he's in good spirits. And like I said, he's trending in the right direction, we hope. But moving on, big week at the Capitol. Kind of felt like a Twilight Zone moment. We saw several bills fail in committee this week, which, that just does not happen very often. Typically, when bills die, it's because they're not considered, they don't make it onto an agenda. It's very rare that you see a bill actually get voted down in committee, but here we are. 3 of them this week, the biggest of which was the impact fee reform. Senate Bill 482 by Senator DeSigley. Was voted down. What committee was that, Courtney? Jog my memory.
It was Community Affairs.
Community Affairs. Thank you, Peter. And it was a 3-4 vote. They did take it up a motion to reconsider at the end, and so we expect that to be on the agenda again next meeting. I think it's on Monday. So if anything, it was really more like getting TP'd than anything else. But officially on the record, it was voted down, and a lot of credit goes to Jeff Scala on that one for work in the committee. Just to recap what that bill does real quick, you might recall there's been a phase-in schedule for increasing impact fees in statute. You can only go 50% over a 4-year period. As far as increases go, and the only way to exceed that statutory framework is a finding of extraordinary circumstance. Now, that was initially left broad in statute, kind of by design, to accommodate a lot of situations where a county might want to increase their impact fees pretty substantially. The example that we like to give a lot is, back in the recession, 08, 09, I think we were trying to stimulate growth, and so a lot of counties were giving developers breaks on their impact fees, lowered them down to 0 or next to 0. And, once things kind of returned to status quo and the market was a little healthier, they wanted to bring them back up to where they were before the recession. That would not be possible under the current thing, because once you lower them, you can only, raise them back up 50% every 4 years. So that would be kind of a slow and cumbersome process to do so. We have been trying to articulate that this should be left broad by design, but what this bill would do specifically is make it a growth over expectation formula. So not just pure growth, but kind of growth beyond what the projections by the UF Bieber Institute have forecast for a given community. So again, something to watch. We're expecting to see that one up again next week, but just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that strange little feature this week.
Strange little nuance.
Yeah.
Keeping it in the finance and tax world, the Senate budget did drop earlier this morning, and as of the time of this recording, we just got the House budget 2 minutes ago. So we have seen both drop now. We'll be analyzing those throughout the weekend. We'll see amendments. They have to be filed by Monday at 5 p.m.
And just real quick hitter, it looks like the House is kind of going into austerity mode, as we may have expected, and really tightening the purse strings. So as of right now, I think the two chambers are about $4 billion apart as far as their recommended budgets.
Along with the budget, we also heard Speaker Perez on Wednesday say that he wants to lower sales tax in the state down to 5.25%. So we're estimating...
From 6%.
Yes, from 6%. So we're estimating this to be about a $5 billion decrease. Along with that, we still have...
Well, that feels pretty intimately connected to, his budget, obviously.
Yes.
And, he said from the very beginning that, kind of streamlining programs and really, reducing waste and improving efficiency have been like his top priorities from the very beginning.
Right. And then we also heard the governor say property taxes at the beginning of session. So the next few weeks are going to be pretty hectic overseeing what comes to a tipping point and who's going to win. Property taxes, sales taxes, budgets. So we'll keep you guys in the loop with all that.
Yeah, this is just the tip of the iceberg that we're seeing so far. But obviously, once we kind of have a better grasp of, what the budgets look like as far as line items and specific silos, we will have a formal update for you guys. But with that being said, we'll kind of shift back to policy real quick. Peter, I understand you had a couple bills you were tracking this week. What's going on in the technology space?
Yeah, well, some good news. There's actually some legislation out there that we like and support. Cybersecurity incident liability passed in the House Information Technology Budget and Policy Subcommittee. Essentially, what the bill does is it shields local governments from lawsuits related to any kind of cybersecurity breach, especially if they substantially comply with specified cybersecurity standards. That would include generally accepted best practices, such as those outlined in the NIST cybersecurity framework. They also need to maintain disaster recovery plans and implement multi-factor authentication, in their software and all their websites and whatnot. So we are obviously glad to see that it's going to remove some of the financial liability for local governments. We did support the bill in committee. And, the House sponsor has been extremely communicative with us, with the FAC team.
And a little bit of fact trivia for you. That was actually the very first bill last year that I ever went to the podium on. Got up and supported that one in committee. It made it all the way through the legislature just for the governor to veto it.
Yeah, he said it wasn't enough.
That felt good. But, we are seeing that pair back. Same sponsors as last year. We got Rep. Gio Lombardo and Senator DeSigley carrying those again. And what this really is just kind of protection for good actors in the space, those who are doing things by the book, according to those best practices and standards. And so we want to reward them.
Well, those standards are pretty comprehensive. So, if you're following them, if you are keeping, your functions of government in line with these frameworks, then you're on the right path, and we do want to see local governments recognized for that. We also had something that wasn't too lovely for counties.
You could say that.
Utility relocation passed in regulated industries unanimously. This is essentially going to shift the cost of broadband, cable, and video lines whenever a county requests that they move their lines because they're interfering, because of a road widening. The bill really just amends it so that the authority, in this case, it could be FDOT, it could be a local county, it can be a municipality, has to now pay for that relocation. And so we are concerned about a significantly negative impact to local governments, and FAC did testify against the bill. The Senate sponsor has been, has had an open door policy with regards to it. He's been working with us on it.
And what's interesting here, Peter, is the telecoms industry itself is kind of split on this one. There's a couple, actors out here that enjoy really good relationships, with their county transportation departments or public works departments, and so they're not looking to kind of provoke or poke the bear as far as putting that onus on us. So it is just interesting to see kind of how the cards are falling here. And who's supporting where. Yeah,
not only that, but it is somewhat eyebrow raising that other utility owners, gas and sewer and etc. They have to out. Yeah, they're left out. They have to pay their own relocation costs. But this is it's creating a pretty broad exemption for these communication service providers. There's been some conversation. Their reasoning is that they collect CST, that is the communication service tax, and that perhaps this could be used as a financial source by the counties to pay for the relocation. But in all, reality, that has been used for permitting and other regulatory functions. So, that record does need to be set straight. But yeah.
Appreciate that update, Pete. I like your style, just covering everything at once. I'm going to follow your lead here. I got a couple quick environmental updates for you guys. The first of which is Senate Bill 810 by Senator Burgess. That is the annual stormwater inspection mandate. That is not to be confused with the sewer lateral inspection mandate that I believe I've talked about a couple times before as well. This one, Senate Bill 810, is kind of a personal issue, hits close to home for Senator Burgess. Following some of those heavy rainfall events from the storms last year, Senator Burgess's district and his neighborhood apparently were flooded for weeks on end. I think there was a failed pumping station, and so that water just wasn't receding. And what he's looking to do is require annual inspections of the stormwater systems before hurricane season every year to kind of confirm they're operational. And while I think the intent here is really strong, we are trying to articulate that this is something we need to be pragmatic about. I know a number of our counties already do routine inspections, typically every 8 to 10 years is what we've heard as part of their MS4 permits. And the reason it's, typically on a 10-year interval is just the sheer volume of structures, within this space. And so what we have been kind of working with the senator on is narrowing that universe, so to speak. I met with him this week. He was very accommodating to kind of some of our ideas. And so, going forward, I think what we might see in its next stop is something more resembling kind of an initial push to inventory, all the stormwater works within the jurisdiction, and then from there kind of flag the high vulnerability areas, whether that's historic flooding areas or some other metric. But just kind of narrowing that universe is what we're looking to see. The bill's in a strange place. It doesn't actually have a House sponsor yet, and the expectation is that it actually is going to find a new home pretty soon in Senator DeSigley's emergency management package. And so, again, we're going to continue working with Senator Burgess on this, but also, even the language we've kind of workshopped with him a little bit would still present a cost burden to our counties. And, if it can't get momentum on the House side, that might just be for the best. So that's my update on Senate Bill 810. Again, if you guys have any feedback, you guys are always free to reach out to us. Just gives me more ammunition when I walk into his office. And then the other update I had for you was dealing with the waste incinerator bill. Got heard for the first time on the House side this week. That's Rep. Weinberger's bill. She's a Palm Beach delegation member. Although the genesis of the bill itself actually comes from Miami-Dade. Our understanding is that they had their waste-to-energy facility burned down a couple years back. They've been looking to kind of re-site it. And what this bill would do is preclude any county from permitting a waste-to-energy facility within a half mile of either a school or a residential neighborhood. And that half mile is measured from the smokestack itself. And I think kind of one of the unintended consequences here is that it's pulling in a lot of facilities elsewhere across the state. I think we've got maybe a dozen or so counties that have these waste-to-energy facilities right now that might be getting captured by this language. And I just want to take a step back here. I don't think we were ever citing these facilities, directly next to schools or residential neighborhoods. I think, more likely what happened here is we cited them with some room to spare, and then, growth kind of encroached on us. The residential neighborhoods grew toward the facility, not the other way around. And so I think the point we're trying to drive home here for Representative Weinberger and then, Senator Avila has the Senate companion is that at its core, this is a local issue and should be handled as such. But what we especially don't want to do is kind of be unintentionally capturing, other facilities that are already existing. And then I know a number of counties already have plans that they've spoken about to, tear down their existing facility and build kind of a new state-of-the-art one sometime in the next decade. And so as it's written, I believe this bill would preclude any such construction of a new facility on the same site if it happens to apply, or if those parameters, those distance parameters happen to apply. So again, another bill that FAC's opposing there. But that's all I got for you guys on environment. Courtney, I know we've been kind of hogging the spotlight here. What do you got for us this week? Anything in the growth space?
Yes. Representative Lopez presented House Bill 943, which is the Affordable Housing Live Local 3.0, as we're calling it, on the House side. This bill has a ton of preemptions in it relating to the way that we can incentivize or help developers with affordable housing in our local communities. Currently, as the bill stands, if we as a local government step outside of the box that is created for us within the outlines of things that we have to give developers, it allows the authority to sue us. So it creates a cause of action within the bill. Some of those highlights that I'm just going to go over very quickly. The bill makes new definitions for allowable density, commercial use, industrial use, planned unit developments, to make those even across the border, regardless of how the county currently has them lined out in their land development regulations. We also cannot request more than 10% of a commercial or a mixed-use project be non-residential. We can't limit the height, floor area ratio, density. If there is a project that is 20,000 square feet or less, we have to waive 100% of the parking. We have to give 20% reduction of impact fees. We have to waive sovereign immunity for actions brought against the Fair Housing Act. We have to allow accessory dwelling units. FAC staff did go up and oppose the bill during committee, and we are working with Representative Lopez to try to fix this and make it a little bit more digestible than where it stands right now. We don't want local government to be boxed in to these types of regulations without being able to do anything else. And that's something big to note here, is that you can't even give more than what is defined in this bill, or everything is just preempted to the state. And that's one of the big takeaways, is if we do not do this, everything is preempted to the state. So hopefully we can water this down a little bit and give us some local control back.
Yeah, and Courtney, I know it wasn't heard this week, but there is a world of difference between this bill and the Senate version, which I think we're expecting to hear come up again.
It's going to be up on Monday in Community Affairs, Senator Colaudi's Senate Bill 1730.
And that's just significantly pared down. I mean, that one, as I understand it, it's kind of some extra enforcement for, penalizing bad actors in the space. And then there's, I think it did take some of the parking requirements as far as, local governments having to reduce them at the request of a developer. But, a lot of those kind of concerning allowable use and incentives within the House bill are just not in the Senate. And so we're hoping that, if they meet in the middle on the language here, that it kind of leans toward the House version or the Senate version.
Right. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, we are meeting with all the stakeholders on Monday before Senator Colaudi's bill is up. So hopefully we can come out on top with this one.
Well, and speaking of bills that have a lot going on, we heard the House finally start to move the Rural Renaissance package that, got fast-tracked through the Senate. And again, big legacy project for the Senate president. And so the House bill moved through its first committee this week. And we really like where the Senate landed as far as, tweaking some of the concerns we had with some of those formula revisions, with those trust fund redirects within the bill. And so the House bill as it stands is still as filed. We do still have some minor concerns, just kind of with the nuance of it. But, I spoke to the sponsor, Rep. Griffith's staff, this week, and he said their intent, and I want to put an asterisk on this. He said their intent is to match the Senate just about word for word. But, the one thing that they cannot control is this is kind of a pretty big bargaining chip for the House. I think this is, Senate President Albritton's kind of big priority that I suspect will be at the top of his trade list come the end of session. once they're going to have to kind of come to the table and negotiate certain things within the budget, that sort of thing. And so the one thing that, Rep. Griffith's staff perhaps can't control is if this bill becomes a chess piece, it might not be up to them, where they kind of dig their heels in on certain changes. So again, I think we're expecting it to run fairly smoothly, but, just a small caveat on that one. But it is moving, and I do ultimately expect it to pass, obviously. I don't think Senator Albritton's going to take no for an answer. It just kind of depends on what he's willing to give up for his rural renaissance. So we will keep you guys updated on that. I think that does it for policy this week. A lot of other stuff going on. We appreciate everyone who came up for Tampa Bay Days. They had the pirate ship in the courtyard and Cubans everywhere. I think we had 3 counties represented: Hillsborough, Pinellas, and Pasco. We ate well, we drank well. So we love to see you guys, and really appreciate you when you come up and support here in Tallahassee. With that being said, any other housekeeping items, guys?
I'm good. I think that's it.
All right, all quiet from Courtney and Peter. Well, again, thank you guys for listening, and we will see you all again real soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye, guys. Have a good
Take
weekend.
care, everyone. Have a good weekend.